Hello. Yeah. Hey everyone, I am back. Let's see. Okay, let me know if you can hear me. And hey, Shamika, welcome. I'm going to say hi to Dawn because you were on earlier. We'll wait a few minutes. And Julie, hi for stopping in early. Shamika, redefining hustle, welcome. Everyone, welcome. Happy New Year, all the way in February. Venus, welcome. Lisa Love, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Welcome back. I am back in San Miguel. De Allende. Hi, Elise. I will continue to welcome everyone. Please let everyone know if you feel like it, where you are checking in from. It's really good to be back live, be back in San Miguel, be back in Mexico, be back home, all the things. Hi, Butterfly Effect. How are you? I'm glad that you all are here. You hung in on my channel. I needed a break, and I just had a lot of things that I wanted to do and accomplish in my time off. So I took the liberty and advantage of doing so during the holiday and then running that into January. So I'll tell you all about that in a few minutes actually. Shadra, welcome. All right, feel free to chat in the chat and let anyone know where you're checking in from if you would like. So I am Michelle Wedderburn for Casa Elm in San Miguel de Allende. I own this beautiful guest house space, and I'm so grateful for, even more so grateful for after my travels. And we'll talk about some of those things as well. This is going to be part one of Where Have I Been? Part two will be next week with my son. I'm going to have him as my guest. If you've followed my channel, you've seen him here before, so he can give his version and perspective of our travels. We were gone for 7 weeks. We went to a few places, but the most significant place was going to Jamaica for over 3 weeks. And I will talk to you a little bit more. Yeah, welcome all of you. California, Baltimore. Okay, Atlanta. Baltimore by Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, Daphne. So anyway, if this is your first time here, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe and like. Everyone, please hit the like button before you forget. And continue supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. We probably won't talk a lot about moving abroad and all the things tonight, but that's what we do talk a lot about in general. A lot of the steps, challenges, the pros, the cons, and all the things. So if you haven't been on my channel before, feel free to check out previous lives and videos. The titles are there to tell you what the subject is about. There's a lot of information there that you can find. There's a lot of information on Facebook and a lot of information in general. You can also go to my website, Casa Elm. That's the name of my business and my guest house here in San Miguel, casaelm.com. And there you will be able to also see what we do. I call us the Soft Landing Experience in San Miguel. We are more than a hotel, more than Airbnb. It really is a home away from home experience in general. And I pride myself on this, especially after taking this trip. I learned a lot about a lot of different things, but I also learned, just kind of like what it feels like to go it alone or not go it alone. And also what we do in terms of helping people immerse themselves into the local culture. And I know that that's not always easy for those that might be a little more introverted. I am a bit introverted. However, I love traveling with my son, and I love traveling in our small unit because it pushes me in terms of like really talking to people. And this experience really taught me a lot in this regard to just kind of lean in and also continue embracing my bravery, I guess, if that would be the correct way to say that. I don't mind an adventure, I guess, is probably the best way to say that. So this was absolutely an adventure. It was a super epic trip that we took, and I will talk a little bit more about that. Welcome from Tennessee, Lisa, and everyone from around the United States. I guess most of you are there. How are you guys doing in the US? Let me know. How's it going up there? We were in the US for not super long. I think we got there, well, I went to Connecticut on the 18th of December, and it was cold, cold, cold. And we spent the holiday season there. That was lovely with my mom and my brothers and way back friends. So it was really nice. And yes, it did feel somewhat stressful. We spent a few days before the new year in New York City, and it was interesting because it seemed a bit, quite a bit, especially New York, but I think the culture in New York is this way. People were just kind of like business as usual, more or less. That was really cool to see and be around, of course, all the bright lights. And New York is a whole other vibe, as we all know, if you have actually visited. If you haven't, I say for sure, take it on for a few days. So I'm grateful to my best friend who lives in Brooklyn, and we were able to stay at her place for a couple days. And yeah, I was ready. I was ready to go. It was a few days, but Connecticut. Anyway, before I get into all of that and about my trip, I just want to say Happy New Year, even though it's February. I can't believe it's February the 5th already. I hope you all are doing okay, doing well. I know that there's a lot of changes and things like that going on. So if moving abroad, moving to Mexico is on your list of things that you want to do, be sure to check out our events page on Casa Elm. I'll drop the link because we have relocation tours, half-week relocation tours. I actually have 3 guests right now that are here for a half-week relocation tour, Sunday to Thursday. So it allows people to kind of get that in and then go back to their lives and make their plans and all the things. So it's kind of a consolidated version of our full week tour. We do have a full week tour in April, so you can check that out. I'm going to put that here. So you can just scroll on this page to see what's what. And before I really get deep into my other conversation, again, please subscribe, and like this video. I appreciate you. But we still have some spaces available for March and April. I will add probably a few more half-week relocation tours for those who have busier schedules and you're not able to come for a full week. So you can look out for that. And if you haven't subscribed to my newsletters, please make sure you do that when you go to my landing page. It'll come up. I think it comes up like 10 seconds. It gives you some time to kind of move around on the page. You can subscribe and then you'll see lots of info, you know, when the lives are, other things that are happening as well. So I wanted to also say thank you to Michelle Watson, who is our tea sponsor for Casa Elm. I'm going to try my best to be better about this year. And this is her website. So she is our official tea sponsor. Her teas are organic, they're amazing, a huge variety of flavors. She has been sponsoring us for 2 years, a little over 2 years. And you can order at her website. And I believe that she only ships to the United States at this time, but you can reach out to them. So yes, Lisa, I saw you. Yes, I saw that you're signed up for March. So Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Okay, Mas, do I want to share with you before I get into everything? Let's see, tea sponsor. Okay, also for all you beautiful chocolate ladies out there, we're going to have a live tomorrow evening for Black Blossom. We have our retreat coming up. That's Tracy Collins and I, and tracycollinsofficial.com. If you haven't heard of her already, check her out. We are co-hosting our Black Blossom Wellness Retreat in March. I can't believe that's right around the corner already. So we still have one space left. It's going to be beautiful. It's March 25th through March 30th. It's going to be in the state of Oaxaca on the beach. Really lovely facility, and we're really looking forward to that. We're having a Zoom tomorrow night, but you have to register to get the actual link. Let's see, register here to get the link. Let me get that for you, and then I'll drop it in the chat. But if you're interested in learning more about that, please make sure you register for it, and just give me a second. And then we'll send you the Zoom link. It's free. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it will be at 6 Central. So same time as tonight. I'm still kind of getting back into the groove of the time change and all the things. So hang in there 1 second. Let me see this. Awesome. Click on this. This is Zoom link. Just a second, you ladies and gents. I thought I had this in my notes. Okay. Okay. All right, so I'm going to drop that in. Just give me 1 second. Okay, just give me a second, ladies. All right, so chat. This is actually a WhatsApp chat. You can join here. Then you will receive, we'll send you the Zoom link for that. Okay, so if you want to join the community there that way, okay? This is Black Blossom, and we're having a live tomorrow evening, and once you register, you'll get to see the Zoom link. We'll send that to you, or you can go directly to our community on Facebook and join there, and you'll be able to join the event as well, okay? I'm going to also find that while I'm talking. So what else is happening? So I'm just going to get into this a little bit. We spent 7 weeks away. I can't say that 7 weeks exactly was planned out. I didn't wake up one day and say I wanted to be gone for 7 weeks. I sort of just kind of started planning my trip based on some of the things I really wanted to do. And I'll give you a little bit of the backstory of what prompted this or inspired this journey. First of all, I've always wanted to take time to travel with my son at this age. And I wanted him to really have like a greater understanding of where we're from, but also I wanted to have memories with him that are us, seeing the world or parts of the world together and having those experiences and what that feels like in terms of different cultures. So we live in Mexico. He's from the United States originally. I'm from Canada originally, but I grew up in the United States. But I have to say that I feel that I have missed out on parts of my ancestral roots. And I started feeling this way more so being in Mexico and really seeing how they are really about family. They really are about their traditions. They really are about where they come from collectively. I'm not saying every single person. So living here and like going to celebrations where there's either a birthday or a holiday or a festival about something that has to do with Mexican history and their roots. It's really a proud thing to see how proud they are as a people. And I think for a lot of us in the diaspora that live elsewhere from where our parents are from or our grandparents or things like that, we have been sucked into the life that we have in or grew up, wherever you grew up, right? If it's in the US, in my experience, it's the United States. And so it was super kind of like important to me to make this trip and really get deeper into where my parents were from. Because growing up, we had the food, sometimes we had the dialect, but most of the time we were just immersed in, US culture and also Christianity. And, nothing against Christianity and church and all the things, but it wasn't Christianity in the way that I think I would have experienced it in the islands or in Jamaica. It was, out in Iowa and Tennessee. So you get the gist. Nothing wrong with that either. It was just not something I ever felt really connected to. So we didn't have like the language, we didn't have the dialect, we didn't have the history of Jamaica. We didn't really get a lot even about the history that my parents had as children, like the way they grew up and things like that. My dad spoke a lot about this, but not so much my mom, and we just lived our lives, right? There's nothing wrong with what happened and per se. It's just I felt like there were a lot of things that were left out or we missed out on. And so moving forward to, being in my 50s, I just kind of had this like thing that hit me when my dad passed away. And I thought, gosh, all this time passed. Why didn't we connect more to our heritage and our roots? And I remember thinking about when I was younger, how there was almost kind of like a darker shadow attached to saying you were Jamaican. There were kids that weren't very friendly or very nice, and they would make fun of someone that was from the islands, right? But I do think that a lot of people from the islands, they have deeper roots as well, right? Because they've been there for quite a few generations. And that's the case for my family. The thing is that we didn't have the funds to necessarily fly out to Jamaica, a family of 5. So it wasn't something we got to do. And then a lot of my mom's side of the family migrated to Canada in the 60s. So we went to Canada, which is also fine. This is just me talking about my observations that I made during this trip and what brought me to why this was important for me to do by myself and with my son, and not go to a resort and all the things, right? So I'll start with, let me just make sure that I didn't miss anything before I get all deep into it. Yeah, okay. So basically, this was really important for me to experience with Micah. I wanted to make sure that he was more immersed in his roots, half of his roots and heritage at a younger age. And I also wanted to have like these memories with him. I wanted him to have them at this younger age. He's almost 13. I'm happy, but I'm just like, wow, where does the time go? And I also felt too that in, 2, 3, 4 years from now, he's going to want to go off and do his own things possibly. And this this journey that we are making through life, and these chapters are going to go very quickly, and I thought it was really important to do this. And this is something I talked about 2 years ago. I've always been interested in the concept of world schooling, and I didn't really learn about that until I moved to Mexico, right? I was always kind of, oh, where are the good, better schools in the United States and the better zip codes and all the things. But to be quite honest with you, living in Mexico has really taught me that world school is one thing, but also it is really important that your child is exposed to as much as possible when it comes to the world, and having choices, having the ability to speak different languages, or to be able to immerse into another culture and have the understanding that it's not going to be like where you came from, right? And that is a huge part of living abroad as well. So all of my observations really come back and tie back into life in Mexico. A greater appreciation definitely happened, and I'll explain better why. I absolutely just love living in San Miguel. I love living in Mexico in general. There are challenges no matter where you go. Hi, Michelle. I spoke about your tea earlier, so welcome. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. So the idea to take this journey was really because I started really feeling that sense of a little sense of loss, and maybe that I missed out on certain things because there's so much propaganda in the world and so much fear to sometimes move outside of our comfort zone. And we think where we are, maybe not everyone, but a lot of times I think in the United States, we are really in kind of like this bubble living. And we think, oh, there's no place better, because I used to feel like that. I think with watching all the movies and Hollywood and all the things, it's like, the US is the best. And that's not the case necessarily, but even though your life is whatever it is, whether you love it, you're not sure, you want to move, or whatever the case might be, at the end of the day, there are plenty of places in the world that people can experience a better lifestyle or have a greater appreciation for many things. And travel allows you to determine that, and also allows those lenses to change throughout this journey called life in general. I remember traveling maybe in my early 20s. I went to Jamaica, was probably one of the first places, and in my reflection of going now, and then the times that I went in between then and now, it was just really interesting because I had a different lens each time. I remember the first time I did a journey similar to this, it was literally in the late 90s, and I was afraid. I was scared to get in a car and, let's drive around, and I wasn't alone at the time. But I remember moving around in the country, and I thought, okay, that wasn't that bad, we had fun. And I don't remember really being very open at first. I mean, I really loved the scenery and all the things, but I think I was moving around in quite a bit of fear. And the individual I went with really and truly was more like, embrace, and, what are you worried about? And I literally can think back now and say exactly that, like what and where did all this fear come from? And it was coming from the place that I think a lot of us experience that concern and that fear because of the things that we've seen, the things that we've been conditioned to think, and the things that we've been conditioned to feel if we come outside of our comfort zone, right? And moving abroad is really coming outside of the comfort zone. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit about that psychology. And this time when I made the plan to do this trip, right, the end part of my trip, I remember feeling like no big deal. And I felt that way because I live here. I live in Mexico. I've been in Mexico. I move around Mexico. Again, I don't do it frivolously. I don't do it without, planning or something like that. But I've learned to kind of shed some of those layers of worry and, I'm just going to stay here and I'm not going to move around the world because I'm scared and something might happen and the cartels and the this and that and all the things. And it's unfortunate because quite honestly, I got a lot of flack from my Jamaican family, and they've kind of gotten in their little comfort zone of where they live in Canada or the US. And, it kind of hurts me a little bit because I'm like, why do you feel this way about where you come from, especially if you haven't taken the time to go back and explore your roots and or reconnect with your spaces. Again, bad things happen everywhere in the world, so I'm not throwing that to the wind necessarily, but it's an interesting psychological perspective that I think a lot of us are held back and held down, and there's a false sense of security that a lot of us are living in the United States. And I'm not saying us because I don't live there anymore, but I'm saying previously when I lived in the United States, and there was this sense of, just stay here, stay in this place, travel in the US. If you go anywhere, go on like a cruise or do it in a group or whatever the case might be, which does not allow you to immerse yourself into the culture of that other place or that other country. So why did I do this? As I said, I really wanted to have a very raw, a very fully immersed as I could be experience. I wanted to just be free and didn't have a real exact plan. So we left on December 5th, and I had a trip planned with my friends. So we did that first, did a cruise. I did do a short video. I had so much fun on that cruise. I did not expect to have that much fun. I had a full week of lots of reggae, lots of everything. It was my preempt, I guess, to going to Jamaica. And then we got back and I went to see family, which was beautiful. My observations, always in reverse, are just little things, Mexican people are just so kind. They are calm. They are definitely more tranquilo, as they say, very helpful. You're typically not, it depends on where you are as well in Mexico, because Mexico is a huge country, but people typically, culturally here, they're greeters. So I'm used to that now because I live here. I've been here for almost 7 years. 7 años, I cannot believe it. So I miss that when I'm not here because it doesn't happen in most other places. And so when I get back to the US, the customs officers were actually nice this time. No problems, got my things. Of course, had a great time with my friend, my best friend, family. I mean, fantastic. We went to Connecticut, I forget whatever time in December. And all I could think was, I just want to stay inside because it was freezing cold. I think a few of the days were in the single digits. Micah got lucky. He got to see some more snow. So that was beautiful. And we're going to have Micah on next week so he can talk about his perspective of this whole trip and traveling and all the things. So I just kind of, felt that those are the things that I was really missing. Of course, sticker shock. I think it works both ways. I think when we go back, we're just kind of like, and then you sort of just fall into the rhythm. I think, like initially it's sort of like, oh my goodness, like this costs this. And then in reverse, when people come here, they're like, oh, that's like way less expensive and all the things. So with time, I just kind of gave into, all right, this is what it is. Not so much shopping, but kind of going out to eat and things like that. it was what it was, right? So the weather, I cannot, for all of you who live in winter season, that's it. That's all I have to say, because it's ridiculous. It was just freezing cold in Connecticut. I loved having the conveniences that the United States brings. Very little simple things, I kind of went into a hair store, I talk about hair all the time. And, I kind of did like a video. Didn't release half of these videos because I just didn't have time. But I did a video of the shop. It was like the size of a mini grocery store, literally. And I literally thought, man, can we just get a little piece of this, a fraction of this in San Miguel somewhere? That would be grand. And one stylist, so I'm still making my plea for this. But it was really wonderful to be there. When we were in Brooklyn, there was literally an African hair braiding shop every half a block, and I am not exaggerating. I could not get over it. I was like, okay, pick of, and they were quick and they were open. It seemed like 24 hours because 7 a.m. they were open, 7 at night, the lights are still on. But New York is a whole other beast. I really enjoyed myself with Micah. We did like the hop on, hop off bus, tried to do the top of the bus, was freezing cold and all the things, okay? So after all of that, we decided to do our trip to Jamaica. And with that came my mission, which was to drive the entire island on my own with a rental car. And that's exactly what I did. So got my trusty map. I literally ordered this map. I hope you can see that from Amazon. And did you have an opportunity to go to Melba's Restaurant Island? No, I don't know who Melba is. I was in Brooklyn. I'm not sure what part of New York that was. I did go to a Jamaican restaurant, and we'll talk a little bit more about the culture of my people. I'm going to talk about my people because, yeah, it's different. So I ordered this map from Amazon, and I didn't realize it was kind of like a dive and a fish ID map. So it had like this on the back, which did not get used in terms of my trip. But we literally, okay, in Harlem. I didn't go to Harlem. I was in Brooklyn, and then I went to Manhattan. So we literally drove the entire island of Jamaica, all right? I was there for 3 weeks with Micah, over 3 weeks, and it was really beautiful. We didn't have an exact game plan. I decided we were going to just take our time and go and see the things, and I did some research, but I kind of did research as we went. So I did pre-research. I booked places that I wanted to stay just the first 4 nights. And then after that, we were booking places either the day before or in the moment when we landed in the place that we landed in. But I'll tell you, it was really beautiful because for so many reasons. First of all, the driving is like driving in England. They drive on this side of the road. And I also, okay, before I get into that, I want to talk about when you go to places, like when you come to San Miguel, connecting with people, networking with people who live locally, because they will get you, number one, the best deals. They're going to get you insights. They're going to get you connections and all the things. So I was able to get a car from someone who rents cars. It wasn't through an agency. And yeah, it was fine. It saved me probably like $1,000, literally. So in saying all of that, this individual that I met last February when I went for a group trip, picked me up from the airport last year, and I kept the contact. So about a month before I left to go down to Jamaica, I asked this person, I said, hey, do you know anyone that maybe rents cars? Because I know that that's a thing, right? Not just in Jamaica, but in places. And he was like, yeah, I do, blah, 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 whatever. So I got picked up with Micah. They wanted to make sure that I knew how to drive and drive on this side. And then we were kind of on our own, found the Airbnb, kind of was trying to figure out like how to get around. It took me about, I would say, a good 3 days to really get comfortable with driving on that side of the road, and I've done it before. The thing is when you have to go in the roundabouts and then take those, like, you know, you're coming out, you have to take the turn, which we would turn, you know, into the right lane, but you're actually going over into the left lane. So it was interesting. I just had to keep reminding myself, you know, look both ways, pay attention to where the traffic is going and flowing. And I'll tell you this, like, the people who drive in Jamaica are insane, okay? Insane. They are crazy. So I really had to tap into my crazy. Horns honking, people flying by you, motorcycles, cars. You just can never be going fast enough, right? Because there's always going to be someone like right on your tail zipping around. And then on top of that, the potholes, and I'm not exaggerating, they are the size of a swimming pool. You could literally fall in and never be found. So all of these little factors kind of really were challenging, but at the same time, I just kind of kept saying, okay, you know, just drive in the day, drive when you can see, and all the things, and stick with your plan. So the plan and the idea was to see and learn about the country, learn about its history, learn about the culture. There were a few things on my list that I didn't get to do. One of was I really wanted to do like some cooking in someone's actual kitchen with like a grandmom or an auntie or something like that. That didn't happen, but most of the things happened. So in this experience for my son and I, you know, we also kind of learned more about each other. And I thought that that was really special because I work a lot and I'm constantly busy. I find that, you know, we're living our lives, but I'm a lot in mommy mode where I'm like, okay, hurry up and get your homework done, get this done, let's do this. You know, we go out and we do things, we'll have a quick dinner, but this was just like us really bonding. And Micah was my GPS. He was awesome. You know, he was like, okay, we got to go here. The GPS would literally cut out at about 60 or 70 meters before wherever we were supposed to go. So in saying that, we really had to lean into intuition, but also humanity. And that's one of the things that I felt was really interesting. And in saying that, interesting in the sense of me being in Mexico, and there's the language barrier, but people here are really easy to approach. And in Jamaica, it doesn't always feel that way, but it actually is okay. And I got a little practice because I saw other people just kind of like, you know, rolling up and talking and asking questions. And so we decided to go to Montego Bay first, and we went to, first day, just chilled, did the beach, and then we went to the Montego Bay Cultural Center, which is in a neighborhood that's like all commerce, right? So all locals, it is bustling. I mean, traffic is crazy, the driving is crazy, there's people everywhere. Again, we're driving on the other side of the road, so I just had to, you know, just let them honk and let them do their thing and then find my parking space. And when we went into the cultural center, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the history of Jamaica. I learned a lot about the slavery. There were like 11,000 slaves that were brought to Jamaica, all the things. Thank you so much, Don. It's that tan. I learned a lot about just kind of like how the Maroon, which is a part of my story. My grandmom was Maroon, and there was also family on my father's side who were Maroon as well, and they are located up in the mountains of Jamaica, in the hills of Jamaica. And while I was there, one of the tour guides told me that they celebrate their, I think their New Year's on January 5th and the 6th. And then I said, oh, well, that's where we're going, right? It's a huge festival. I think the town has maybe normally, I want to say 800 is their population. But during this festival, a lot more people are there. They have a dance that's called Jankano dance. And it's like, someone kind of almost sounds a little bit like a fiddle, drumming and all the things. I went to a symposium as well. And apparently they're kind of trying to separate themselves like the Seminole Indians have done in parts of the United States. They want to also be like their own community. Well, they are, but they really want to be separate, I guess, from just being called Jamaican. They are very proud about being or of the Maroon heritage. They have zero crime up there or very little crime. They were proud of that. They have a lot of initiatives for their people to get their land back and all the things. So it was really interesting to listen. There were quite a few people that were there from like Costa Rica and other parts of the Caribbean as well to just kind of talk about some of their issues. They have their own flag. So I really enjoyed learning about that and feeling like some kind of grounding, I guess, in some ways about the history and that they were a huge part of helping Jamaica become independent as well. And even during like the slave times, they talked about where they would hide out in their caves and all these things. And the following day, I stayed there for one night. The following day, first of all, getting up there was a whole mission. Okay, we're talking mountains with drop-offs and potholes and narrow roads and all the things, but we found it. And people were very instrumental and helpful on our way up as well. So the second day, it was really beautiful because they had a whole ceremony with African dance and drumming and all the things, and they were explaining, their purpose, the history, and it was crowded. It was really crowded. I didn't stay for the full day, the second day, because I wanted to get back down to Mo Bay and then continue on. I didn't want to spend another night in Montego Bay. But the point is that I felt that I learned so much about that history and that heritage. And so I just want to say to everyone watching, like if your family is from somewhere else or even parts of the United States and you haven't been there, you haven't visited, there's a lot of history that we don't necessarily know about. And I think it's beautiful to explore that and go and find out more and just have the knowledge. I really enjoyed that experience so much, and I felt so proud about being there, and I thought, I wish we had done this sooner. And so life goes by so quickly. I thought it was really important to see that, to be a part of that. So we then continued on, and the whole point was I really wanted to drive around the entire island, and that's exactly what we did, without all of the bottled up stress and fear. My family was just like, why are you going to Kingston? I'm like, why not go to Kingston? So we just did the things, right? We went to the Grill. I saw Sandy Bay Beach. From there, we stayed in the Grill for a few days. And then from there, we continued on to Black River. And we did like a Black River safari. So much education that came into play for not just myself, but also for Micah. Just having this freedom to kind of move and see this place where my parents were from. And we also went to where my mom grew up, which was really special to me. I had tears in my eyes because I didn't know anyone there, right? I've been there before, but my aunt who lived there decades ago, now lives in Canada. And so I asked my mom, hey, where did you grow up? And she called her brother because she didn't really, I guess she knew, but she wanted to make sure she got the name right. And I said, okay, what's the name of the street? And then she told me, and I literally just plugged it in the GPS, and off we went. And something like a chicken thing kept coming up for some reason. And Don Robbins, that's the name of the area. So we went, the GPS brought me to this specific street. And I was just gonna drive down the street. So I saw this older gentleman in his yard, and I pulled over and I was like, toot toot. And I said, hey, I was like, hi, I'm Michelle. I was like, do you know where Edwin Fife's house used to be or is, or the area? And he knew my family. Okay, and I ended up talking to him for about an hour. He's like, yeah, when I was little, and his name was Breezy, and his dad's name was Breezy, and all the things. He was so kind, and he was literally naming my uncles and saying, this uncle and that uncle, so I knew he was legit. And yeah, we were just talking for a minute, met his daughter, and it's an older gentleman, and it was just really, really nice to just be there, and also to, again, stop and have a conversation with someone that I didn't know at all. And he was explaining all his June plums and his fruits and his peppers, gave me some seeds and all the things. And then I went up the street to look for where my aunt's house used to be, and more or less the area that my mom's side of the family grew up in Mandeville, which is really a beautiful, Manchester is the parish, but Mandeville is the area, and it was really beautiful. And I've been there before, but it's been a long time. So, the whole point is just kind of like us letting go of not wanting to try something different, and just being able to move into those spaces and try something, moving, for example, to Mexico or anywhere, if you decided, oh, well, Mexico's not for me, I want to go to Panama, I want to go to Costa Rica or wherever, I want to move to a country in Africa or Europe. Really, it's a big thing. It's a big thing because sometimes you don't have the support that you may want from your family. And if you do, that's great. If you have the support from your friends or, coworkers or whatever it might be. But understanding that, if you have this thing inside of you that wants to be and to do, I think it's important for you to pursue that and not let, all the noise change your mind, right? I had some noise. I never pay attention to the noise, honestly. Once I decide what I'm gonna do, I'm just like, let's go for it. Sometimes it may seem a little foolish, but this for me was super epic. And I kept saying to Micah, like, hey, we're doing it. We were all over the place. We were in the mountains. We went to the Blue Mountains. We went to Kingston. We went around to Puerto Antonio. We went to Ocho Rios. We just took it on. Like, when people say a place owes them nothing, like Jamaica really owes me nothing. I mean, we did it. And I just really felt super proud of the fact that, I got over kind of like that little hesitation. It wasn't really great enough for me to not do it, but just kind of like the first initial days, I just kind of felt like, and once I got my bearings, I realized what I was most concerned about was really driving on the other side of the road, even though I've done it, but it's been a long time. But also not being able to find places. I can honestly say that every single person was so helpful. It didn't feel scary. I really had to approach people several times. And I'm going to say this too. Okay, so of course the guys are going to be really helpful, right? None of them were harassing, honestly. It's happened, but it's like, it wasn't over the top, right? It's sort of, I don't know, it just feels like a different day and age for whatever reason. But I remember one of the nights, and I was so frustrated, it was towards the end, I could not find our Airbnb, right? We went to do a bioluminescent tour, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen that, they call it glistening waters. And when you jump in, the water glows blue. And I wanted to do that from the beginning of the trip, but we ended up doing it at the end because at the beginning, that one night in particular, the water was choppy and all the things. So we decided, oh, we'll do it when we come back around. And so I booked my Airbnb before we went on the tour. And then I sent the host a message and I said, hey, we're going on this tour. We'll be there in like 3 hours. So it was really short notice and it was already dusk. And then we go out, it's nighttime. We go out on this boat and we do this tour. And on our way back, I have no message from the host. And I'm just like, okay. But the instructions are on the thing. And so when we start driving, the GPS just isn't accurate. Cannot find this house. It's like taking us in circles and circles. And I'm frustrated because this is dark as ever. It keeps bringing me back to this one place. So finally, I was this close to saying, I'm just going to call and cancel, and we'll just continue driving to another part closer to Montego Bay or whatever. And I remember I said, oh, I'm going to do what I've been doing. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to just ask someone. So I pull up to the gas station. There's 3 guys. One's a taxi, one's a shuttle driver. I don't know what the other guy was doing. And I just was like, roll the window down. I said, hey, how you doing? I was like, I can't find this address. Do you know where it is? And, the shuttle driver guy is like, oh, it's up there. So they call the housing developments housing schemes. And he's like, it's over, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I passed over there so many times, I don't know what you're saying or talking about, because I was expecting like a development kind of look. It's just like a neighborhood. And so he says, okay, you know what, follow me. He's in his shuttle, follow me over there. And he took time, just like I've experienced the same thing in Mexico. And this was just one experience, but he took a good 40 minutes to help me find this house. He went to like 2 places prior, and then finally the host called me back. And so the point of saying that was, first of all, as a female, we always have to move through the world a little bit more cautiously in general, right? But I think sometimes there's such like this thing inside that kind of clutches us, where we may not want to ask for help of a stranger in a foreign country in the middle of the night. But I was just like, okay, I'm either going to have to find this place or cancel. And because we had moved throughout the country quite a few times, and everyone that I asked help from, they were cool. They're not always approachable in Jamaica. It's definitely different than being in Mexico, but I really felt that my viewpoint of getting assistance when I needed it was changed, really. It's changed here, and it was definitely changed there. Again, moving with caution, depending on where you are, not just in any old neighborhood. Like I had people that I met along the way, they were like, make sure you let me know when you get to ABC. But I also realized too that those individuals oftentimes don't really move too much outside of where they live either, right? And so when I would tell people like I'm driving around the whole island, they're like, oh, you're seeing things that I haven't even seen. And I'm like, to me, Jamaica's not, it's big, but it's not that big. It's definitely one of the larger islands, but I was just like, y'all need to get out and get around. You got a car, like go see your country, go in the mountains. There were a lot of things that we did that, yeah, people were just like, oh, I've never been there. I've never heard. I was just like, I could not. This island is beautiful, but I just don't know that it could hold me because I need to explore. And I think I don't like the idea of being surrounded by water. I can't drive out to another place. But it was beautiful. Port Antonio is definitely still one of my favorite places. I really enjoyed Black River. The area was super calm. Driving, people were more calm, more chill. The houses were lovely. Got to meet, all the hosts pretty much of all the Airbnbs, and really feeling like we immersed ourselves into the community more. And that is kind of the point of what, this trip was, but learning about our culture, learning about our history, just, moving beyond the fear of moving around in the world, and also embracing things when we are not sure how, just kind of basically, reaching in and holding on to that thing we want to do and going into it with like kind of being open about it. Yes, I did check out Negril. We drove around the entire island. Let's see, you said keeping on actually in Kingston for a few days, returning to Chapala. Nice, excellent, enjoy. I have to tell you, Kingston was a little bit much. We drove from Mandeville to Kingston, and my plan was to stay there 2 nights. So we went directly to the Bob Marley Museum. If you are in Kingston, you haven't done that, definitely do that. And if you're in Jamaica, I say do it. I learned a lot more about his life and just how incredibly talented he was, and just how much his music, or reggae, but his music has really impacted the world. They had some really strong points. It was just lovely to be there. This was where he lived. So it was really beautiful. I got to see his son, Stephen Marley. I saw him first on the cruise, and then I saw him at the museum. He was walking around with, I guess, another little kid, his son maybe. So that was cool, but Kingston was a bit messy because my Airbnb, I didn't love it. I was just like, I can't sleep here. So in the middle of, not the middle of the night, but around 8:30 in the night, I literally was looking for another place. So I just decided I was gonna leave the next day. I planned on staying for 2 nights and then doing like a city walking tour. So I would definitely go back. There was so much traffic, and it was just a different vibe because it's a city, and I anticipate and expect that, especially here, right? When you leave San Miguel, you go to Querétaro, it's a city. You leave Querétaro, you go to Mexico City, it is a city, okay? So you have to understand that the experiences that you have as you move around, whether it's in the same country, island, place, it's gonna be a little bit different. And cities are just this way, right? People are busy, tired, stressed, they're just go, 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 just like New York, and they're just doing their thing. And, in Kingston, no different. Like, it's insane. It was insane. And I literally just kind of felt like, if I do go anywhere, I'll probably take a taxi to get there and leave the car. But because the Airbnb wasn't desirable, I found a different place, and I decided, okay, tomorrow I'm driving into the mountains. I'm going up to Blue Mountains. We went on a coffee plantation tour. We did so many things. We did a tour, a walking tour. We found private waterfalls. We had a 14-year-old tour guide. He and Micah hit it off. We just had a great time. The place that we stayed in was run by a Rasta and his wife, and they actually have been to San Miguel. Small world. They actually knew someone that I knew. So it's just crazy. But yes, we were in the grill for about 3 days at the beginning of our trip, and then we went back at the end because we had about 3 days left, and I just wanted to relax. And the grill's a great place to relax. Montego Bay as well, if you're in a resort, there's always the beach, just hip strip and all that stuff. But, it's just crowded. And the grill's kind of like sleepy a little bit. It's nice, but it's kind of sleepy. So we did the beach in the grill, and then we went to Benta Falls, also close to Negril. It took me, I think it was about 45 minutes to get to Benta Falls. And then we came back, and then we left. And I mean, along the way, I just met the most incredible people. Like on my way, I stopped at some little shop, and we were buying snacks, and this woman starts to talk to me, and she's like telling me that she's been in that area for 21 years, and she had her little shop, but she also lived in Toronto. It was a Jamaican lady. I forgot what she said her name was. It was like a nickname of some sort. But along the way, I just met the most incredible people. And everyone was super kind and helpful. When we were in Port Antonio, there was a gentleman that was kind of helping you park your car at the Blue Lagoon, because you can't really drive down to get to the Blue Lagoon. You can't park down. So we had to park at the top, and he was just like chilling, had a like really messed up leg and crazy dreads like sticking out over here. And anyway, he was just like, oh, I can ride you down on my motorcycle down to the entrance. I was like, sure. So we took motorcycles down to the entrance, and then we went inside. And then later he actually helped me find a lighthouse. I wanted to go to a lighthouse because they have several lighthouses. So we did that. So I'm gonna put a video together at some point and try to recap like the places that we visited, and for you to see it. I actually went to a marijuana farm, coffee plantation, waterfalls, Rockland Bird Sanctuary, the Black Safari, Crocodile Safari or something or another. So there's so much to see and do outside of the touristy things. I know there's Dunn's River in Ocherias, all the things. I did not go there because I've been there and I didn't want to go there. I did go to Frenchman Cove, I did go to Blue Lagoon, but it was lovely and calm and peaceful. Port Antonio, and I would have to say that, hi Dee, thank you. I would have to say that Port Antonio and, let's see, Black River were probably my favorite places. Definitely Mandeville is kind of like being in San Miguel up in the mountains. I met this amazing woman from New Jersey, Trina. She had actually recently moved and she's doing real estate and doing her thing, so kudos to her. I know that Mocha Mazel is there as well, somewhere I think in Kingston. I did not get to connect with her, but I wanted to, but it didn't happen. But there's so many beautiful places to see. As I said, this was my trusty map, and GPS was kind of like, but I used this to kind of help me figure out what direction I wanted to go in, and, just kind of like what point from here to over here if I was going to go over the mountains. But for the most part, what we did was we went to Montego Bay, and then we went up into the mountains, and then we went back. So there are some places I didn't get to that I would definitely do again, would go back and try to see. For example, I really wanted to get to Cockpit Country, which is somewhat close to, I believe that's in this area. Yeah, it's over here. We were somewhat close by that area. There's a lot of agriculture, and it's just, the rock formations are really beautiful. But we just took Mobay right here. This is where we started, went up into the mountains, and then we came back, and then we went around the grill, and we drove around the entire island for 3 weeks. So that's what I wanted to share with you for tonight. And I just wanted to say, come outside of your box sometimes, and don't let fear stop you from trying things. If you don't want to go it alone, I love going it alone. Well, I love going it with my son and sometimes my mom. I invited my mom. She didn't want to go. She didn't want to visit her country. And then on my way to Kingston, the highway was incredibly beautiful. It was a toll road. It was so lovely. And Jamaica is just green. Going up into the mountains of Mandeville was just breathtaking, okay? Going to Port Antonio was like going to parts of Puerto Vallarta, very jungly, very green, just lush and incredibly amazing. But it was an epic trip. What I remember calling my aunt on my way to Kingston, the one that lives in Canada, she's in her 90s, and she literally said, "Mind you get kidnapped." I was like, wah, wah, wah. I was like, do they actually kidnap people in Jamaica? I don't know. I'm not trying to be naive, but I was literally offended. And I thought, I got to go. Let me just keep driving because you guys are not excited the way that I'm excited. And I was excited to share the experience I had of meeting this gentleman who knew our family. And, I guess I just felt proud about it. I guess it was one of those moments where it's like you had to have been there. And when she said that, I just kind of felt like, this is what I'm talking about. And I definitely am not taking any energy to try to explain anything because sometimes people can't see your vision. Sometimes people can't connect with what you're trying to do and they can't feel what you feel because they are not in your shoes and they never will be and you'll never be in theirs. So you have to find the inspiration, the courage, and the things that you need to do to create the life that you want, to create the experiences that you want, to see and do the things that you want to do. And that's one of the things that I've learned living here, that I learned more of on this trip. I learned that I love living in Mexico. I learned that I love my Jamaican people, but I absolutely love Mexicans, Mexico, everything. I am so grateful that this is kind of the way we've been able to carve out the life that we live. So when you see myself and other people talking about living abroad, going and doing the things that they're doing, we're talking about deep feelings, right? Deep things that we are experiencing. We're not just saying this to just say it. We're saying it because that's truly how we feel. And one of my guests that's here said this to me the other night, or someone said this. No, it wasn't one of my guests. It was a lady that I met, and she was just like, I see all these people talking about San Miguel and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I thought everything was kind of like exaggerated. And now that I'm here, like I see what you mean. It's peaceful, it's calm, it's everything that you said. And it's like sometimes people can't get with that until they experience it themselves. So you need to go out and grasp the things that you want and to do the things that you want to do, because it is important that, one, you realize, and we all know this, life is short. It doesn't matter how old or young we are. It's important for you to tap in and to do the things you want, basically. Don't keep putting it off. I saw a clip from Stephanie the other day about her mom, and she was saying how her mom waited, retired at this older age to do all the things to live her life, right? And I think that we're a whole new pioneering generation of people that are just kind of like, we discovered earlier that now, right? Figure out ways to do things now. We have the technology, we have all the things. Now, it doesn't mean you just run off frivolously without a plan, We have to have a plan, right? And that's what we're here to help you, figure out. And I hope that these situations and this inspires and continues to inspire people to pursue the things that they want to pursue and do and live where you want to live in the world, because we have choices. And I think it's imperative that we take advantage of those choices. And if you plan on moving to a country with all the nonsense that's happening right now, I think you should look into it, get your residency, get yourself set up, get more so your residency, get that right, so that you can be wherever you want to be legally. What happened last year with the elections and everybody kind of like, suddenly, oh, I want to go, I got to go. I'm like, okay, that's great, but you still need a plan. You still need a plan. So make your plan, take your time, and still pursue. Don't sleep on it, don't get complacent. Keep working at it. It took me 6+ months to just pack up and move, but I actually did research for almost 2 years, and in all honesty, I wanted to move when I was pregnant. I actually wanted to move it decades ago, but I really wanted to move when I was actually pregnant, and it took 6 years for that to actually happen. So the point is that time flies, and if you work on your plan, it will come together. Same for this. Like, I wanted to take this trip last year, April, and I didn't know how, I didn't know exactly where none of the things. But what I did know was I wanted to do it. And I remember saying, you know what, just keep doing what you always do, right? Work on it, make a plan, and all the things will start to come together. And so this to me is life and universe, and if you pray about it, whatever it is that you do, whatever your personal process is to get you to that end goal, I think that that's the part that you have to focus on, is saying, okay, here's where I want to be. I may not see the path clearly, but this is what I want to do. And these are things, and I'm going to make these steps. Is every step going to be perfect? No. Trust. Okay. I fell in all kinds of potholes with that car. I was just like, but I just kind of thought, all right, I want to do this. And I made the plan and I kept moving forward with it. And it all kind of came together. Even when I looked into my tickets, I couldn't believe the prices were so incredibly reasonable on American. And I was just kind of like, it's October, and I was able to get like all the things. It just all started coming together, but I had been working on it for a while. Same with moving, same with life, same with having a business. It's one of those things where I didn't know what I was going to be, and now I'm here 3 years later, and I'm still working, and I'm still flourishing, I'm still thriving. I'm so, so, so grateful to all. I have so many people who come here, and within the first few minutes or a couple hours, we're like boo-hooing because, they're grateful for me, but I'm equally grateful for you all too, because it's like you come here, you trust in this process, and I trusted in the process of this is what needed to happen and what my purpose was. And so I'm going to keep doing this in 2025. I'm so happy to be back in Mexico, happy to be back here online. So if you did not already like this video, please do so. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. It supports everything I'm doing. Next week, I'll be back with Mr. Micah, and he'll give you his version of world schooling and jumping off waterfalls and all the things that we got to do that were cool. One of the coolest things I have to say was feeding hummingbirds. Rockland Bird Sanctuary here in Mo Bay, please go check it out. It's up in the mountains, but it's so tranquil, so beautiful, and the whole history behind this place was amazing. Hi, Terry. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love San Miguel. I was so happy to be back. I had a few moments where I literally blurted out in the car by myself driving to wherever. I was like, oh my God, I just love it here. And being away helped me realize just how much, going to Connecticut where I grew up, cold, love my family, love my friends, miss them dearly. But I still would not move back. Going to New York, I always loved the city, loved the vibe, but I'd rather go to Mexico City. Coming back home, and after doing all those Airbnbs and all the things, absolutely love San Miguel. I was so happy to be back in my own bed. So basically, that's it. Can't wait to see you. Okay, I don't know who Pink Mabel is, but sorry, I don't remember all the nicknames, but it's been fabulous. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Please join me again next week. Don't forget to check all the activities. Like I said, tomorrow we're having a Black Blossom Live, Tracy and I. So please be sure. Okay, hi Kevin. How are you? Please be sure to join us if you can. Tanya, hi Tanya, that's right. Sorry, I'm like getting all the dust and cobwebs brushed away and getting back to my real life here in San Miguel, which is fabulous. Yeah, let me just drop this over here again. We're gonna do this. If you have not joined already, hold up, let's see. If you haven't joined our Black Blossom group, please be sure to do so. And you can also RSVP to the event, which is happening tomorrow night at 6. And we are going to, let's see, it's on the live. Okay. All right, gang. Thank you for popping in. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your evening. I'm going to go and hang out with my 3 guests Tomorrow's the end of the relocation portion of the tour. A few of them are staying a little longer, but I want to spend the evening to have a nice dinner with them. And again, if you have any interest in moving to San Miguel, please sign up for one of my relocation tours, which you can find on my events page at casaelm.com. And again, don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button, and I will talk to you guys next week. Michael will be on. We'll get his perspective. We'll talk a little bit more about our experience together. And then following that, we'll get back to some more serious business of moving to San Miguel and life in San Miguel, and any questions. And also, if you have any comments that you want to drop in the comments box about things you want to hear about, see, listen, learn more about, just let me know, and I will add that to our social media schedule. All right, everyone. Thanks, beautiful people. I appreciate you, and have a fantastic night. Ciao, ciao.